I have just finished crawling and boy are my legs tired. Today we're gonna wrench on the Mini Capra because like I said last time, it was the last time that we got to drive it around without mods. So now we're gonna do some mods. All right, so I've actually done a little bit of work. I did some of the hard soldering portions of modifying the electronics while I was at the shop because I already have a soldering station there. Everything's laid out. It's nice and easy. So far, what we've done to the Capra since the last time you saw me wheel it was replace the ESC and the motor and the radio. We had to switch out the radio as well because the stock unit is a all-in-one sort of ESC radio combo. So anytime you do electronics upgrades on this, unless it's just a servo or external BEC, you're gonna have to replace your radio, which is sort of unfortunate, but at the same time, it's how they hit a price point on a rig like this, having an all-in-one. So what I'm thinking about now is replacing this servo and how I'm going to get about it, because we have the wires that are routed all the way through, and then I've got my radio back here, and we're just gonna have to take this apart, really. Now, where did I shove the radio is the question. I guess we'll just have to take it apart and see. But more than likely, what I'll have to do is take off the shocks and this skid plate here, and then hopefully everything will just drop out. We'll see how it goes. Every rig is slightly different, and there are methods of wiring a rig so it's easier to take apart like this. But coming from the factory, it's probably not going to be like that. As you can see, I'm already missing 2 of the screws in the skid plate. That little transmission really doesn't need much to hold it in. And I also don't know where the screws went. But I was taking it in and out a whole bunch, trying to fit all the electronics inside, including the test motor. We have a prototype motor in here, generally on the channel. We don't share prototypes. I don't share the things that I'm working on because it creates questions for our customer service team. So please don't ask any questions about it because they don't actually know anything about it. I keep prototype development generally to just myself. So you can't call up or email and ask them, hey, what about this new motor that's coming out? Do you know when? Do you know the price? Do you know any specs? No, they don't. They don't know any specs because I haven't told them anything. I'm telling y'all though, we do have a brushed prototype motor inside this, and you'll get to see it, but I won't tell you any details other than getting exactly the right speed and build of motor. Takes a little longer than you might think, and then of course you got to get it manufactured, which takes longer than you might think. So from the time of this video, we will actually be lucky if one of these prototype motors comes out for sale within 3 months. So it's a pretty long time, pretty long cycle, and that's after I figure out all the details. And I can tell you that this prototype motor I wasn't satisfied with. So there will have to be changes. What I'm doing now is just taking the shocks off at the chassis side, not at the axle side. My wrists are already getting tired. I've just started here. I guess I could have used one of these fancy drivers. See, is this guy charged? Nope. Need to charge it. This guy's charged, but that's not a good idea. Maybe for just taking it out. Just for the last one. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's what I should have done. Melted the plastic. Now, does it come apart? We've got our servo wire holding us in front. I'll need to snip that. Or maybe just route it through. There's a chance. All right, so, well, I did have some double-sided tape. Or no, that was hot glue. I hot glued the radio in there. It doesn't look like it held. But it looks like maybe I've already unwired this servo, so it's a little easier to get to. Now, part of the reason why I'm replacing this servo is because it's weak. It's a pretty weak stock servo. And it doesn't take much on these little rigs to have a good oomph, but they didn't. But it's, you know, once again, a vehicle made to a certain price point, and there will be concessions made. There's a little clip inside this body that you route all the wires through. It's just a piece of plastic, kind of C-shaped, and it's neat that they have that built in, some wiring right there. Excellent. All right. So hopefully my servo has a long enough wire to reach. It should. This is a very small rig. Here you can see the prototype motor. It is just a sealed can. However, the value of a sealed can in this situation is pretty high. Now, the question for me, do I keep the stock servo horn? It probably won't strip out on such a small tired rig unless we get a really big drop. Oh, no, I can't keep it. It's got a, oh no, here we go. It does have this weird bushing, I'll call it interesting, bushing setup. I'm assuming that's so they can just have this horn molded a certain way, and then you have these inserts that adapt to the different servo standards. And what I'm going to put in is a 500 LP. This will be such overkill. Such absolute overkill for this little rig. All right. Nope. Does this have molded? 23. Yeah, the little plastic pieces for 23 spline, and what we have is a 25 spline. If I had the box, there probably would have been included more of these little guys, these little inserts for the different spline types. It's probably inside the box. Don't have the box with me, so c'est la vie. I'll just have to use a Vanquish servo horn. Oh no, a high quality servo horn. It's gonna be terrible. There we are. Actually, I like this better. Oh, yeah. All right, I'm gonna take this servo out. What do we think? Is it gonna be a M3 screw or a plastic threading screw? Oh, it was M3. Going into this plastic servo mount, I would have guessed that maybe they just would use like a self-tapping, like a sheet metal screw, but they did not. Oh yeah. Yeah. There we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I missing? There we go. There's one. For the servo. And for reference, are the skid plate and the servo screws the same? Yes, they are. Cool. That means we can get them mixed up. Excellent. Stock servo. Right then and there. It says Spectrum molded into the case, but then maybe I lost it at some point. There is not a thing on the front. Got the little Spectrum molded in. That's kind of cool. Yeah, you know that it's at least their own mold tooling. These are pretty neat looking axles. I haven't really taken a good look at them, but they are in fact Curry axles. It's like a miniature version of the licensed Vanquish ones, which is pretty neat. All right, let me know in the comments if anybody makes aftermarket axles for these that have the Curry actually on it. I haven't looked around yet. All right, now which way was the spacing? Also, just for my own interest, is the output of these in the same plane? It's probably not going to be. Since this 500 LP is a 5-gear servo, sometimes the output is just a little bit further this way, which does look to be the case. But that shouldn't be a big deal. All right, screw gun going back into plastic. This is going to be fantastic. Maybe I'll just get them almost all the way there and use my hand tools to snug it all the way. Or I'll snug it all the way with this. Just gotta be gentle, right? Boy, these tools fit good. Yeah. One more. So switching out the motor on this particular one, if you are doing it yourself, the one piece of advice that I can give you is solder your motor wires on sideways. Don't solder them directly coming out the end, because there isn't quite enough room the way that this chassis kind of comes down. So as you can see, I soldered these in coming out sideways, just like that. Probably should have done it in the other direction so it wasn't, well, I was gonna say towards the drive shaft, but I guess the drive shaft normally wouldn't be riding that low. There we go. So really I just need to pull these wires back. I do already have the JST power. What I put in here was a BR Mini. It's gonna be hard to see that. Here we go. I've got a BR Mini shoved into, I guess this is where the old ESC was, ESC radio combo. I've got the BR Mini shoved back there. I have the JST power tap coming off of there, and then I made a harness that goes from the XT60, which is what I usually would run, all the way to the front that converts into these EC, whatever these are, EC2s, yeah, EC2. Says it right on the side. And that way my ESC, I can just switch out to another rig later and I don't have to worry about changing my plugs out. And if I change the batteries, all I need to do is change that one little extension that I have, and I don't have to do any soldering inside the rig, or I don't have to take electronics out of the rig. I can just take my little harness, this little extension up here to the front, because that's where you gotta plug the battery in anyways. And we have this little JST hiding up in here. So now we just need to snake the wires. And if y'all have watched the channel for a while, you know that clean wiring has never been my forte. What I have to do is change electronics out so often, and I just usually don't, I just don't get things as clean as they could be because of that. All right, we're gonna make sure we plug the motor back in. There we go. And I got lucky on this installing it, and you got a 50-50 shot of the polarity being right on the motor. I got lucky the first time. Forward was go, and it was going forwards. Now let's see, this is on the proper side. Radio is hanging way back here. I'll need to reinstall it, I suppose. Which way? I'm trying to think if I should, yeah, I should probably bring these wires up and in. But I still want enough room to be able to take the top off easily. I guess if I just leave a little bit of slack, we should be golden. All right. There we are. Where's our signal? Where'd you go? Where'd you go, signal? All right, our power is actually up in here in the hood, so I don't have to go very far for that. And maybe I should route the power elsewhere in the vehicle, but for now we'll just go ahead and plug it in and we'll get it semi-ready. There we go. Oh yeah, they've got little wire catches all through this vehicle. There's one on the edge of the battery tray that you probably can't quite see. Well, I'm glad I have little childlike hands, because fishing this stuff through with larger paws would be extremely difficult. It's already difficult enough. Come on. Come on. There we go. So now, 1 to turn and 2 to burn. Channel 1. Suppose I could just plug it in now and make sure everything works. I also need to center the servo for the first time. And once again, we're just using the FlySky GT3C. I should probably get another one of these. I have a whole stack of these receivers, and they're still extremely inexpensive on hobbyking.com. The HKGT2R. It is a regular 3-channel radio. It is compatible with these GT3s. Very inexpensive as well. I think maybe these were $6 a piece. They work well for testing. There we go. As you can hear with the BR Mini, we have it in normal mode instead of silent mode, because our startup is actually better in the normal mode. There we go. It moves and it goes in the proper directions. Now, servo's moving. Good. Servo's going to be really slow, I realize, because I'm only running 2S, but that's because we have the stock battery. And it's probably going to be plenty powerful enough, and I will switch to 3S later. All right, so we're going to have to... we're going to have to do something. So the power wire, I can just keep it tucked up in here. But what I got to figure out is how am I going to get this wire in here and tight? I guess I could just install it and then pull some extra slack this way. Yeah, that's what I'm going to have to do. There's just really no easy way to work on this thing. It's so tiny. I guess that is the downside of these smaller rigs. Yeah, we'll just have to do like that. That is the downside of these smaller rigs, that it is really hard to get your hands in here to work on them. We also want to make sure that our drive lines aren't hitting anything. Make sure your motor wires aren't hitting anything. Once again, I think I should have soldered the wires in the other direction, coming off the motor. I guess I could flip the motor 180 as well, but that would have made it a little cleaner. Now, there's little tabs that actually hold that skid plate in. There we go. Looking good, looking good. Definitely gonna use the power drill for the rest of this. I think I'll keep the shocks more laid up this time in the front. Standing straight. And just want to make sure I don't drive this home too much. Gotta say, I love these Vanquish drivers. And these little adapters that they make, 1/4-inch adapters, perfect. It's fantastic. There we go. I'm hoping all these screws were the same for the servo horn and the shocks, because I got them mixed up. Yeah, these drivers are pretty tight. That'll keep you from stripping them out though. You can hear when it actually seats. Well, you could on the other ones. Of course, that was the one that didn't pop. There we go. And if any of them need just a little bit, we go to our hand tool. There we go, perfect. So it's really not a good idea to use an impact to drive these all the way in when it's plastic. But it's the tool that we have on hand, and I'm a professional, or would I be an expert? I do this for a living. So I guess I'm a professional. And the expert, well, that's arguable. We got, all right, we got this little RX wire kind of hanging out. I can see that everything is in the battery tray now, and that's not going to work. That will not work at all. No, no, no. So where am I going to hide these wires? I guess they'll just be hidden under the hood. I could even use a small zip tie to keep them together. That's crazy talk, though. That's like, why are you making this look pretty? Is it going to be on the shelf? Yeah. I think I might zip tie this together. Amazing. Oh, there's a bag of them around here, and there's these big ones. I hid them from myself. They were up here, and I'm like, I'm going to clean things up. And oh, there they are. I cleaned things up. No, I didn't clean things up. I thought about it. That's usually what I do. At least when we're talking about cleaning. If it's a fun project, I'll do. And then make the mess that I think about cleaning up later. Anybody else have that sort of problem? You know, we're all still humans. Not perfect individuals. Yeah, that's gonna be much better. And I guess I could zip tie this to the little bar, but it'll stay. Will it? We'll find out. There we go. Some Zytronic side cutters. These things are fantastic. We use these in the production, actually. And they work for about 10,000 cuts of copper. There we are. Oh, yeah. Steering. Gotta finish our steering. Time to look through the bins. There's one. 25 tooth, 24 millimeter. Little bit of thread lock, because what are we doing? A metal screw into a metal servo horn. And also into the metal servo, which I should go ahead and put a little Loctite on that too. There we go, little dab, little dab. A little dab. Now we're ready, I think. All right, I turned it on. Gonna turn it on again. No, don't you do it under programming mode. What is wrong? What did I do? Well, I didn't put the skid plate on yet, so that's good. But that is the no signal. That's the no signal dance that it was doing there. Well, it has signal, but the receiver is giving full one direction because I haven't set the failsafe to go to the middle. Gotta pop it off. Why is the radio not giving signal? I must have unplugged it or something. Or it's getting pinched. Okay, nothing's burning. Good, good. All right, once again, on. Worked that time. All right, the reason why we plug everything in is to make sure that our servo horn is centered. And then what we need to do is get a little bit more Loctite on this. A little bit more blue Loctite. This is 245 from the Prime Lock brand. I would say for the most part, thread locks are interchangeable. Not different formulations, but different brands that, at least for residential use, I guess we could call it, it's not that big of a deal if you choose one brand over another. If you're just thread locking a screw into this, not a big deal. Now, if you're doing something by the hundreds or the thousands, and you need repeatability, maybe some level of, hey, look at that. So in the shorter position, as you can see, I'm in the shorter hole here instead of the longer hole, and our two links are exactly parallel in this position, and that's pretty much where you want to be. We could get more throw if we go into the lower hole, but the question is how far is this away? And I totally skipped trains of thought there. I know I was talking about Loctite. That should be fine. That should be fine. Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah, it looks like it'll impact if I put it in the lower hole anyway. So there we go. All right, back to the off-topic Loctite discussion. Off-brand Loctite, as long as you're just using it for stuff like this, is no big deal. Now, if I was doing assemblies with it in the shop, you damn straight I'm going to use an actual name brand. I'm not going to be going down to the local hardware store and just getting something off the shelf there. I'm going to end up buying it. Usually from, actually McMaster's a pretty good option if you only need, you know, a few containers of something. If you need more, oh boy, there we go. If you need more than that, then a lot of times there are specialty adhesive sellers, is the best way to put it. And they'll get you better deals. But for something like, let's say, waterproofing, if you're not buying a gallon of it or a bunch of quarts of it, you're not going to get a better deal anywhere, really. All right, back to wrenching. We got our horn down. Now we clamp. Give them the clamps, boss. A little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then we're going to go back to a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's so tiny that it's only about a quarter ugga-dugga. There we go. And just to make sure that our servo horn doesn't back off, we're gonna go in here once more with just a little bit more. And that'll just kind of cinch everything together. I think, no, I didn't tighten that all the way yet. Now we should tighten that. And it's only a plastic top. Oh yeah, and a longer screw is like, oh, it's scraping. I'm gonna have to switch that to a shorter screw. Hey, and look what's already sitting here. It's the one with a huge glob of thread lock on it from last time. Will it actually pass through? Oh, just barely. All right, now let's see if it threads in. It looked like I'd goobered up the threads with so much thread lock that it wasn't even going to start. If I push down hard enough, it will cut. Yeah, there we go. I got it going. Thread lock is like shaving off everywhere. Feels like I'm gonna strip out the threads. Don't try this at home, folks. Oh, so nasty. As you can tell, it's taking a lot more force to thread this. It's because it's got that Loctite on it. Big old glob, nice and dry. All right, we're getting there. It feels like I would just strip out these threads, honestly. All right, we've almost got it. Blue Loctite, you're doing a great job. That is way too much force. But it's at least the right length of screw. Jeez, this one's not going anywhere. I hope. There we go. Well, that'll do for now. Whew. All right, so recommendation is that you don't put globs of Loctite on your screws for another day unless you're willing to do something like this. All right, moment of truth. We're gonna boot this back up and hopefully the steering still points straight. Straight enough. Ooh, boy, that's a hair trigger. Not even pulling. There we go. Oh, faster in reverse. I wonder if I'm not getting full range on this. All right, so let's try. We're gonna program our endpoints on this ESC. See what's up. So you hold full throttle and then you plug it in, which is kind of tough when it's in a rig like this. Let's see if I can manage. Normally you'd have an on-off switch on an ESC. I don't put those on mine. There we go. All right, let's see what is up. Yeah, because it's not seeing full throttle in this direction. So that tells me maybe the EPA's on this. Let's look. Endpoint adjuster. Channel 1, we're going to be on channel 2. Boop. This way. What about that way? Okay, they're both on 100. So we're going to roll that up to 120. Right. Well, I do see also that I could reverse my motor and then reverse my ESC, because reverse is green throttle and forwards is red throttle. So that's backwards. We don't want that. Long term, at least, we don't want that. And there could be just a teeny tiny bit of timing, tiny bit of timing on the motor. And as the brushes wear in, that'll even out to closer to 0. But all right, so success. We have this and we have this. And none of it is stock components. All right, low speed control is actually a lot better, even though, like I said, this motor wasn't exactly what I wanted. We're gonna have to have another video where I go out and crawl this. So if you do have any questions about this, or maybe comments on how frustratingly long it can take to work on a rig so tiny, leave your comments down below. We'll do our best to get to them. As always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.